Welcome to the situation update for Friday, December 31st, 2021. Yes, folks, amazingly, we have arrived at the last day of a very difficult year. And I'm not going to let this year just be forgotten. We're going to revisit this year. And we're going to thank our lucky stars, or maybe actually thank God that we've made it through this year together. Hasn't it been quite a wild ride? I can't believe it. But together, we are strong, we are informed, we have God on our side, we've made it through this, and we're going to make it through 2022 together as well. So, as I said yesterday, I'm going to keep this going for as long as it takes for us to get our liberty back. Now, a couple of notes about just projects and such. I do intend to do a vinyl record about 2021, even if it takes 4 months to get that record stamped out. That's something I intend to do. Again, it's only 22 minutes per side, so it won't be very long, but I'm going to try to hit the highlights and see if we can offer that out there as a almost memorabilia from the year that we all survived together. what an amazing thing. And then I've now almost completely finished recording the new audiobook that's going to be free of charge for you. And it's called Ghost World 2022 through 2032. And I haven't yet finished the previous audiobook. I've been working on it called Resilient Prepping. That's a much longer book. But this Ghost World book just came out in I just recorded it over the last 3 days. And it's really hard hitting. I think it is. You're going to really enjoy this because there's also a positive theme. And it's the Two Americas theme that I mentioned yesterday. And it explains why it's been so confusing. Why, on one hand, you see doom and gloom and collapse. And on the other hand, there's a rebuilding and there's a resurgence and a revival of America. And you might ask, well, how can both of these things be true? And the conclusion that I've come to is that they're both true in different places in America. We're going to have two Americas, geographically, two different Americas. Depends on where you are. That's the America you're going to get. So that book's going to be coming out for you soon, free of charge, obviously. You'll be able to download the MP3 files and the PDF transcription. And then also, as I promised, the comedy collection from 2021. I have all those audio files. I'm about to assemble it probably this weekend. I'll put it all together. We're going to release the best comedy of the situation update from the year 2021, which I don't know if it's going to be a riot or just sad. I really have no idea. But I'm going to put it together and release it for you, and you can enjoy it, and we can laugh together at the year that almost destroyed humanity. And really, I think 2022 is going to be an even more difficult year for many people, but I also see 2022 as the turning point for those areas of the world and of America that are going to have the resurgence. I'm really seeing a hardening of the resistance against medical tyranny. And I think there are going to be some major things happening in 2022. Let me just go through some of the big possibilities here. Now, these aren't official predictions, by the way. These are just some what-ifs, things that could happen. But one of them could be a dollar collapse, an engineered attempt at a global currency reset. That's going to wake a lot of people up to honest money and the problems with federal or central banks, the Federal Reserve, and so on. And also the total criminal corruption of governments that run on money printing and handing out money everywhere. So yes, there's a global currency collapse coming. Could happen in 2022. There's another big event, which could be the so-called cosmic false flag or the faked alien invasion. And you may have heard recently that NASA has hired some religious leaders, like right out of the movie Contact, And apparently NASA needs these religious leaders to be able to inform the public of what to think when NASA reveals the existence of alien life. Now, this isn't the first time that NASA's had such experts hanging around or offering consulting or what have you. But it seems like there's suddenly renewed interest in this, especially when you put it together with the fact that over the last couple of years, the U.S. Navy released that, the UFO footage, what was it called? The Tic Tac flying object footage. And there have been high-level members of the military that have said, yes, these are extraterrestrial vehicles, not of human origin, things like that. And a lot of people believe that this is a setup to a cosmic false flag, that they're going to fake an alien invasion in order to get everybody to go to support world government, basically. They'll have like a giant hologram UFO in the sky, and they'll say, oh my God, the aliens are here, let's do it. And it's just going to be another way to kill off humanity, and a lot of people will buy it. But anyway, that's the interpretation that a lot of people have. Other people think that there will be actual contact, and that NASA slowly releasing information about Mars, helicopters on Mars, there's water on Mars now. They just admitted a couple weeks ago, found a massive amount of water on Mars. And they've even said in the past, they've found liquid water on Mars in the craters, at least seasonally. Did you know that Mars has seasons? Mars has, there's an axial tilt of Mars relative to the orbital plane that it takes around the sun. Kind of a white hat reveal. And I don't know what to think about all this. I don't know what you think about it, but many people think that, all the good people are in charge, and then they're going to release all the lists of names of all the pedophiles and everything. And now that Ghislaine Maxwell has been found guilty, they say she's going to be singing like a canary and naming names, and all the bad people are going to go to Gitmo, and so on and so forth. That's what I suspect we may be looking at with the midterms. Like, no matter who wins, we lose, Well, I don't know. You could call that a pessimistic point of view or a skeptical point of view. Some people choose to be more optimistic, and that's fine. I don't have all the answers. We each have to choose what we're going to believe. So, as I mentioned yesterday, I am not loyal to any political party. I am not a party person. I am a principles person. And I don't care what letter someone has beside their name. I don't care the color of their skin. I don't care their national origin. I don't care their sexual orientation. None of that matters to me. What matters are your principles. That's what I use to judge everyone, discernment via principles. So let's see what Trump does. And I have patience with people before I publicly criticize them. So I gave Trump a lot of rope, a lot of rope that he's been using to tie everybody up, I guess, metaphorically speaking. Let him run for a long time. Paul, I have not criticized Rand Paul. And I've said a lot of nice things about Rand Paul because I think he's a very good person. In fact, I think Rand Paul is inherently ethical. He is inherently compassionate, and he is a law and order person. He believes in real justice. He believes in humanity. He believes in civilization, much like his father. And so I think Rand Paul, if we give him enough time and patience, he's going to come around on this issue. And I think that Rand Paul is operating in an environment where it's probably no exaggeration that he's been told if he crosses certain boundaries, they're going to just kill him. I mean, they've tried to kill him twice already, right? They sent the mad shooter to try to kill him at that, what was it, a baseball game or softball game, or whatever it was, congressional game. They tried to kill him. They sent a guy with a rifle. And then his neighbor tried to kill him too, and broke one of his ribs. Remember that deal? So Rand Paul has put himself on the line. Oz, for just a second, since I'm on this topic. Dr. Oz is running for U.S. Senator. I think it's in Pennsylvania, isn't it? As a member of the GOP. And I've noticed that a lot of the pro-life organizations, such as LifeSite News, have published articles about Dr. Oz and Oz's previous endorsement of abortion, which seems obviously quite inconsistent with a GOP platform. I want to say about Dr. Oz that aside from his abortion issue, and let's see if he's going to come around on that issue and work to protect unborn human children. Maybe he'll change, right? But I think that overall Dr. Oz is a good-hearted person in an overall sense, and that he wants good things for humanity. Yeah, absolutely. Because they don't let you have a TV show if you talk like I do. Obviously, they're never going to have the Health Ranger show on some network, TV network, right? That's why I had to build my own platforms. So Oz is in the same boat as Rand Paul, I believe, is kind of pushing the envelope while staying in that system where there is a lot of power and influence, whether it's power in media or power in the Senate. Now, this doesn't mean that they're perfect, because they're not. And I think Oz and Senator Paul both have room for lots of improvement, but they're walking a very difficult tightrope. It's a difficult balancing act of what they're doing. And let us not forget the positive difference that they're both making. Even if they're not 100% with us yet publicly, I think they're with us in their hearts. So Trump or no Trump, our mission is the same. And we cannot subjugate ourselves to one man or any one person, whether it's Trump or someone else. In fact, there was a person who talked to me today about all of this, and they said that they're very concerned that Trump is coming back into power, and that when he does, that he's going to be a worse medical tyrant than Joe Biden. And Trump only listens to the mainstream media, and Trump doesn't really know about independent media. As much as Candace Owens has said a lot of really great, important things, I'm sorry, she's just not nailing it on this. As I said yesterday, Trump is not a time traveler from the 17th century. I mean, Trump has known about natural news for 6 years at least, and he's known about InfoWars, and he went on with Alex Jones in 2016 as part of his campaigning. And Trump absolutely knows about independent media. So whatever Trump does, that's his business. But you and I, we stay on track. We continue to educate people. We continue to promote the truth. We continue to save lives. All right, we've got more to cover here today, but given that it is New Year's Eve, I just want to offer a little safety warning. Not that I'm trying to be your parent or anything, but just a friendly reminder that there are a lot of crazy people on the roads late tonight, and a lot of, breathalyzer checkpoints. So stay off the roads later this evening, if that's an option that you have, because we need you. We need you to stay safe, and we need you to help fight for humanity next year and beyond. So just keep all that in mind. But have a great New Year's Eve, celebrate it yourself in a safe and mature way. Don't do anything crazy yourself. And now for the kind of the comedic aha segment today. I normally on the podcast, I share something with you that I think you'll find amazing but true, right? Amazing, but true. Like you can pump up your car tires with a bicycle pump. I learned something very shocking today. So I'm going to share that with you. And I learned that there's something called there's a game called Cornhole. And I did not know about this game. And apparently it's a big deal. And this goes way back decades. And I don't know if you participate in the game, if that's called cornholing or what exactly, because I've heard that term used in a very different context. But in this game, two teams stand, 30 or 40 feet apart, opposing teams, and they have beanbags, and then there's a slanted board with a hole in it. And you just try to chuck the beanbags into the hole opposite you. And whoever gets the most beanbags in the most holes wins. And this is quite a big sport, I just learned, in Texas. I really had no idea. I'd never heard of this. But it's called cornhole, or I've also learned, shockingly, that it's referred to as cornholio. So going back to Beavis and Butthead, I didn't know. It's like, I am cornholio. I never knew what he's talking about. But it was funny. And it turns out that's a real thing. So there you go. I mean, I've lived in America. I grew up in America. I live in Texas, and somehow I have never run across cornhole until just now. But it's a thing. It's a real thing. And but as I kind of warned you, I've heard the term cornhole or cornholing as, you know, something bad that happens to you in prison when, you know, when you're attacked by someone in a act of sexual violence. That I've heard that called cornholing, and you know, like George Carlin, the comedian, would talk about. I think he used the term in some of his stand-up routines, and so I thought that's what it meant. I thought if you're getting cornholed, you're having a bad day in prison. But apparently, in Texas and apparently many other states, if you're playing cornhole, you're winning. You're getting beanbags in the hole. And no, I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm genuinely surprised that I had never heard of this sport or whatever activity, pastime. And it's a very simple, low-tech thing. So it's kind of good to know about this as society is, you know, collapsing. And this is something you can play without a power grid, it turns out. You just need a board with a hole in it and some beanbags. I'm not sure what corn has to do with it, by the way. Maybe originally you were like chucking corn cobs into the holes, and that was what you did. And then they upgraded it to beanbags or something. But it's a real thing. I'm not making this up. You can go to DuckDuckGo.com. Seriously, search for cornhole competition or something. In fact, let me do that. Okay, so here we go. I just searched for cornhole competition, and sure enough, there's a website called playcornhole.org. Cornhole tournaments. And that's what I'm seeing so far on the website, and I guess they're all over the place. Oh my gosh, there's a map. They're all over the country. Oh my goodness. They're in Arizona. Apparently you can do some weekend cornholing just about anywhere. And let's see, we have cornholemart.com with an article, how to organize a cornhole tournament. Cornholeantics.com, how to run a righteous cornhole tournament. That must be fun. Cornholeboards.net, that lists cornhole tournaments. The official cornhole rules by the American Cornhole Organization. That's the ACO. Official cornhole rules. Like rule number 1, you know, don't fight back. I don't know. It's crazy. I never heard of this. All right, so here's the test for your friends. And they ask you, so what are you doing this weekend? Oh, just doing some cornholing. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What kind of person are you? No. I'm in a cornhole league. We cornhole in groups. You know, see what your friends say. Oh, seriously. No, and I'm not trying to mock people, by the way, who play this. I just think the name is really funny. I think it's great that people get involved in, you know, family activities and that are somewhat physical and off grid. I think it's great. So don't misinterpret me. I'm not in any way mocking cornholing, and probably the fact that I'm mentioning it is promoting the activity. So if you'd like to do some cornholing, go to some of those websites I mentioned. American Cornhole Association. Give yourself a cornhole league name and go out there and start rocking the scoreboard with your beanbags. And it's real. I'm not making any of this up. Okay, let me read you this. If you go to the playcornhole.org website, they have cornhole bag standards, and it explains maybe where corn comes from. It says each bag shall be filled with approximately 2 cups of feed corn, and finished bags should be roughly 6 square inches, and weigh 14 to 16 ounces. Well, wait a second. 6 square inches. That's a really tiny bag. And then elsewhere they say the cornhole bag shall be made from 2 fabric squares, 6.25 inches by 6.25 inches, with a 0.25 inch stitched seam on all 4 sides. Bags should be made from durable fabric. Well, So 6 by 6, that's 36 square inches, isn't it? You know, X times Y, that's 36 square inches. But then this next thing says it should be roughly 6 square inches and weigh 14 to 16 ounces. You can tell that I would, they'd probably kick me out of the cornhole game because they're like, you're asking too many questions. Well, why are you doing math? Just freaking throw the bag. Just toss this thing into the hole. Stop worrying about how many square inches it is. I'm just reading the rules, folks. I'm just reading the rules. They even have foul bag rule violations here in the official rules. How do you get a foul bag? Well, Rule F is any bag that struck a previously defined object such as a tree limb or a wire or an indoor court ceiling, etc., or perhaps your opponent. It's like, how did trees get involved in this? It's like, okay. Well, you know who you don't want to play cornhole with is Tom Brady, because he can fire a football into a 12-inch culvert from 50 feet away. So just don't get any professional NFL quarterbacks on your opposing teams, or they will cornhole the crap out of you. And anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted by this. It's just, isn't it odd to grow up in a country and you know, I've lived over 50 years and I'm thinking, how did I not know about this? How is this the Mandela effect happening? You know the Mandela effect, right? Where you have different memories of like things from your childhood and then they changed. Like, you know, the children's book series, I think it's called the Bernstein Bears or the Berenstein Bears or something. And then now, if you look it up, it's different than what everybody remembers it to be. And there's a lot of like childhood cereal names that have changed. Like everybody remembers Captain Crunch, but it's not Captain. It's actually Cap'n. It's Cap'n Crunch. There's no T. And as adults, people look at that and like, oh my God, what did the reality shift? That's the Mandela effect. So what I'm wondering is now, am I suddenly living in an alternate universe where everybody knows about cornholing, but not me, because I came from the non-cornhole universe, you know, the alternate history where we never had cornholing. And then now suddenly everybody knows about it. Have you heard about this? Do you know about this? Am I the only one that doesn't know? I guess the joke's on me. How did I not know? I mean, as a kid, sometimes when I visited relatives way out in the boonies, we would play horseshoes. I remember that game. That's a hard game because you have to have the rotation of the shoe exactly right when it hits the metal bar on the other end, right? That's hard. A beanbag, it doesn't matter which way it's rotating. It's just going to go through the cornhole. But a horseshoe is way more difficult. In fact, 3 out of the 4 sides of the horseshoe will block your victory. And many of you, when you were children, you remember the Berenstein Bears, and now it's Berenstain, and it has never been Berenstein. So that freaks a lot of people out. And then from Star Wars, a lot of people remember Darth Vader. This was in Empire Strikes Back after he cut off Luke's arm with the lightsaber. And everybody remembers Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." Right? This is one of the most famous lines from Star Wars. Well, never said that, apparently. That's not in the movie. He never actually said it. He actually says, "No, I am your father." And that's when Luke says, "That's impossible." And it goes on from there. Okay, let's see some other examples. A lot of people think that TV show is called Sex in the City. It's not Sex in the City. It's Sex and the City. Right? Okay. Okay, a lot of people are freaked out about the Oscar Mayer commercial from 1973. You might remember hearing this. My baloney has a first name. You know how this goes. Okay. All right, so going back in time even more in the 1960s TV shows, a lot of us remember watching some Lucy reruns, perhaps, or if you're old enough, maybe the original episodes. And Ricky Ricardo, everybody remembers him saying the following. Goes something like this: Lucy, oh, you got some explaining to do, right? We all remember that. Lucy. Anyway, you get the idea. This is called the Mandela effect, and a lot of this is attributed to people having wrong memories, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's the explanation. But some people believe there are actually alternate universes at work, and there are many examples of this. I dare you, if you just want to blow your evening, just go on to DuckDuckGo and start searching for Mandela effect examples, and your mind's going to be like, no way. All right, here's a true factoid from the past. Heck, it's New Year's Eve. I'll just share this little personal experience with you. The Rubik's Cube. So the Rubik's Cube came out when I was in, I think, grade school. And of course, it's very, very difficult to solve this when you're in grade school. But the cube was incredibly popular. And for the most part, most people could just get one face to have the same color, not to solve the whole thing. And then typically the students would resort to just peeling the stickers off the other faces and reassembling the stickers. And said, look, I solved it. Yeah, but why are all the stickers falling off? Because you just peeled them off. That's not really the solution. Well, it's a true story. I got kind of dragged into a computer course at a local university. It was a nighttime computer course, and I was really advanced and into computers, and I had one of the first Apple II computers. I was writing computer code and writing simple games and simulations and things like that, simulating gravity and whatever on the computer. So I got dragged into this computer class. And in this computer class, and I was, again, the youngest person there, a kid among adults. And they were like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. I heard this computers happening here. And I said, no way. So I took the cube and mixed it up, handed it back to him, and he solved it in like under a minute. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And he was moving it all around in different directions and everything. I was like, how did you do that? And he said, well, it turns out there's an algorithm. You just got to learn the algorithm, and then you can solve any Rubik's Cube. I said, wow, that's cool. So I don't know when it was, a little bit later, I bought a book about how to solve the Rubik's Cube. And he was right. There's an algorithm of how to solve the Rubik's Cube. So there are specific steps. You can rotate a corner piece, for example, or you can flip a center piece or invert it, or you can exchange, you can move center pieces with each other on different parts of a face, or you can move corner pieces and so on. And obviously the center pieces and the corner pieces are not interchangeable, because a corner piece has 3 sides and a center piece, the center of an edge, only has 2. And then the center of the face only has 1, but the face center pieces don't move. And that's right, they're always static. So anyway, I went through this book as a kid, and it's not even that difficult to solve a Rubik's Cube once you have this algorithm. And I learned how to do it. And then I would do this thing where I would be usually dragged to some kind of social event or something, and I would hand the cube to an adult, say, here, mix it up, I'll solve it. You mix it up. And so they would say, no way, there's no way you can solve this. I'm like, yeah, I can totally solve this. So they would mix it up, hand it back, and then I would do what that guy did, solving the cube, and then moving around, and I would solve it and freak people out. And I actually did a solve one time in 26 seconds, because we were timing this all the time. I would have them time me, like, here, you time me, I'll solve it. I literally solved a Rubik's Cube in 26 seconds. That's the fastest time that I ever did. But it was fun. And, it astonished a lot of people, because it's hard if you don't know the algorithm. But if you think about how does that apply to today? Well, and really what I've learned over all these years is that there are people who have no algorithms and they're just winging it all the time. Those are like the kids who would peel the stickers off the sides of the Rubik's Cube. Like they've never really solved anything. And then there are people who have algorithms. And among those people, some of the algorithms are correct, some of them are not correct. Some of them have the wrong results. So it really comes down to, what is your inner model of the world around you? Is it effective? Does it really match reality? And does it produce the solutions that you're looking for, such as, self-reliance, or maybe financial independence, if that's a goal of yours, or, harmony, or health, or sustainability, or whatever. You have different algorithms for this. You have different strategies for how to achieve this. What if we had better algorithms on a global scale, or government scale, or in our own private lives? And that's what I think, that's a lot of what I do, is to try to present some algorithms or some strategies, ways of thinking about the world in order to solve the Rubik's Cube of life and get the results you want in a way that to an outsider seems astonishing. Oh my gosh, how did you do that? All 6 faces, they all match now. That's amazing. How did you do that? Well, let me tell you a secret. And then that's when you start red pilling people, when they say, well, how did you do that? That's amazing. Well, first, understand that every official source is lying to you. And then you have solutions. What are your solutions? Well, could be vitamin D, could be ivermectin, could be silver coins, depends on the problem. You have different solutions, different algorithms, but this is what we're doing. We are solving puzzles constantly. And the globalists are throwing out confusion to try to prevent you from solving the puzzle. That's what they're doing. It's like the globalists are a giant pigeon walking across your table where you have a puzzle half assembled, and the pigeon is just like, I'm going to just destroy this puzzle, and they start scratching up all your puzzle pieces, shredding it, or tipping over the table. Not going to allow you to solve this puzzle. That's their job. That's the job of the media, is to cause confusion and hysteria and make you so afraid where you're like, I'm too afraid to solve this puzzle. That's what they're doing. So look at the world in this way. It's a really useful explanation that if you know the algorithm, if you have the key, the blueprint, you can seem to perform miracles that other people find astonishing. Like, whoa, how did you go through that financial collapse and not lose everything? And the answer might be incredibly simple. Oh, I bought gold. There's the answer. You bought gold. How did you know to buy gold? Well, because we saw the algorithm. We did the math ahead of time. We bought gold, and now we're okay. Because it wasn't hard. It's not that complicated. Nutrition, it's important. Helps the body catch up and blocks viral replication, lets your immune system function better, and so on and so forth. It's just a simple solution to the puzzle. Or you might meet someone after the power grid collapses, and after half your neighbors have nearly died of diarrhea from drinking contaminated water. And they're like, you didn't get diarrhea and almost die? You're like, nope. And they'll say, well, how can that be? How did you not get diarrhea and almost die? Oh, because I have a water filter. No way, you have a water filter? How did you know to get a water filter? Oh, because this was kind of obvious this was going to happen. Water filters are cheap. Having diarrhea, expensive. So that's called asymmetry, right? Very expensive to not see that coming. Very affordable to see it coming ahead of time. Asymmetry. And of course, this is a temporal asymmetry, because looking back in time at a mistake and thinking, oh my gosh, I made that mistake and that was very costly, versus looking forward in time and preparing for or anticipating something that's going to come and then solving it ahead of time. So temporal asymmetry, very, I suppose it's a common concept. This is something that is alien to the masses. They don't think about temporal asymmetry. In other words, they don't think about, hey, a bag of rice is dirt cheap today, but in a food collapse scenario, when I'm starving, a bag of rice might be incredibly costly. So why not just buy bags of rice now? Especially since you put them in, 5-gallon pails, and the rice might last 10 years or more. Lasts a long time. Rice is cheap when everything's working. Rice is incredibly expensive when everything is collapsing. And I can see a lot of people are going to be asking coming up soon questions like, how did you see that coming? And you and I will be answering, how did you not? How could you not see this coming? Well, we were busy playing cornhole. Okay, that's fine. But while you were cornholing each other, we were prepping over here with some beans and bullets. And by the way, it's funny. Every podcast I do, there's somebody's offended by something, right? And I can just see it today. There's going to be some cornhole champion somewhere that's going to be just completely offended. It's like, I loved your podcast until you mocked cornholing, and then now I just can't listen anymore. No, hey, to you, I'm not mocking cornholing. It's just funny. It's a funny name. It's very funny. It's the funniest name of any sport ever. It's funnier than bobsledding, whatever that is. Bobsledding always just struck me as, let's go sledding with Bob. We're bobsledding. But okay, cornholing is even funnier. Anyway, just in summary here about this concept, just remember what we're doing is we are analyzing the arriving problems, and we are solving them in advance at a steep discount compared to what those solutions cost in the future. And this is a very important principle, and you've probably benefited from this principle in your life. Think about the times where you have anticipated something and then you've been able to change course, or maybe make a different investment, or maybe halt a project, or I don't know, leave a bad relationship before it got worse, or whatever. You've probably had many things in your life where you benefited from the anticipation of what's coming. And that's all we're talking about here. And in order to know what's coming, you just have to analyze trends and know a little bit about human psychology and the evil corruption of government. And this is why a lot of Democrats and obedience worshipers, they always get caught with their pants down, so to speak, not knowing what's coming because they think government is good. They assign this false faith to government and corporations, and they think, oh, corporations care about us and the governments love us. And then when it turns out they don't, they're just shocked and say, whoa, we could never have seen this coming. Well, actually, the rest of us did see that coming, because we know that the corporations are evil and the governments are evil, and actually they're trying to kill you. So it's not hard to anticipate what's happening if you have an accurate view of what's driving the other parties. See, that's what you need to understand. What's driving the corporations involved in this pandemic? Well, mostly profit. What's driving governments? Depopulation and power, taking away your civil liberties and so on. When you finally understand the motivations, it all makes sense. You know, what's driving the open borders policies? Well, obviously child trafficking for the wealthy, the elite, you know, the Jeffrey Epstein class of governors and big tech CEOs and what have you. Everything makes sense when you understand the evil nature of the concentration of power into the hands of the few. Suddenly the whole world makes perfect sense. So you have avoided the depopulation bioweapon to this point, and that really speaks to your wisdom and your ability to anticipate what's coming, your ability to avoid or avert disaster. That's to your credit. You're going to need those skills in 2022, but the good news is we now have more practice doing those things. So just be ready. Apply the skills that we've learned in 2021 to the coming emergencies that will be unleashed against us in 2022. To the extent that you can do that, you will be successful navigating 2022. And rest assured, they're going to try some crazy events, some emergencies, some crisis. They're going to unleash something, or maybe multiple things. You're going to have to navigate all that too. But we've proven we can do it together. We've proven we can anticipate. We can analyze what's happening. We can survive. We can be prepared. And we're doing so in a way that's a fraction of the cost of what people will pay in the future when they have made mistakes and not anticipated these things happening. So you are way ahead of the game, folks. You are way ahead. So if there's any thought to really remember on this New Year's Eve. Give yourself a round of applause. You are so far ahead of the game. You are on the high scoreboard for humanity. Seriously, you're so far ahead of the oblivious masses that you deserve a day or two off. Give yourself some time off. Relax. You are now the most fully qualified human being, or among that class of super qualified people, to survive what's coming. There's almost nothing that they can throw at us now that will catch us off guard. That's a good position to be in. We are the most prepared people on the planet. All right, I'll leave you with that thought, but seriously, give yourself credit for what you've gone through and the way you've conquered it. And I know that none of us are 100% prepared for everything. Doesn't matter. You have the cognitive, the wisdom. You now have the neurological patterns to make it through almost anything. And that's something that we have all acquired at great cost as we learned what was happening over the last 2 years. But now that we have that knowledge and wisdom, we can apply it to upcoming events, and we can be successful in our goals of surviving and helping others, exposing corruption, all these things that matter, building a sustainable civilization after the collapse of this one, and so on. These are lifetime skills, and each of us has really just gone through a master class. We have acquired knowledge and wisdom and experience that is priceless. So give yourself credit. You earned it. You deserve it. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve, and we'll talk with you, I guess in 2022. Yeah, I'll have another update for you, of course, on Monday. If not, something over the weekend, maybe some additional shorter report or shorter update. But have a great New Year's Eve. Keep it safe. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care. I'm Mike Adams.